Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And, well, it is the beginning of 2022 now, so what better way to start the year than with some Xbox Game Pass games? Yes, they did reveal the January lineup, and it does seem like Xbox Game Pass for the year of 2022 is getting off to a pretty good start here, so we're going to go over that one later on in the video. Now, also, it does appear that PlayStation might be revealing some new hardware here soon, as well as we did get some new information on that PlayStation VR 2, so make sure to stay tuned for all of that. Speaking of PlayStation, though, we do actually have a PlayStation PC game to start this video off, being Death Stranding Director's Cut, and no, you did not hear that wrong. The Director's Cut has now been confirmed to be heading to PC through Steam and the Epic Games Store in spring of 2022. 505 Games, the PC publisher, did confirm this over on Twitter and even said that it will incorporate Intel's new XeSS graphics technology, which is really interesting because I believe this is one of the first games to use that technology. We'll kind of see how all that works out, but this is really interesting for a few different reasons. One, of course, this is a PlayStation-owned game. Yes, 505 Games is publishing it, but still, Death Stranding very much is a PlayStation-owned IP, so to see the Director's Cut head over to PC really just continues that path of them releasing more of their games on the PC platform. We have seen them have success in the past with this, and they are releasing some of their own first-party games such as God of War even this month on PC, so this shouldn't come as a major surprise, but still cool nonetheless. Now, the other curious thing about the Director's Cut is that Death Stranding, the original version, is already available on PC. Now, we saw what happened with Death Stranding Director's Cut for the PlayStation 5. If you had the original Death Stranding on the PlayStation 4, you were actually able to upgrade for $10 to that PlayStation 5 version. Though in this situation, 505 Games is actually publishing this, and we kind of all know how much they messed up the Control upgrade path, so we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens here. Unfortunately, they're not giving too much information about this upgrade path as of this moment. They were actually asked directly about whether or not there will be an upgrade path, and they simply responded, "Hi, thanks for your question. Stay tuned. We'll have more info to share later on this month." I really don't know why they don't just come out and say it now. It makes no sense to make fans wait on whether or not you get an upgrade path or not, but I guess it is what it is. We'll simply wait from here. Either way, though, it is really cool to see Death Stranding Director's Cut head over to PC later on this spring in 2022. Moving on, Alan Wake Remastered got a nice update for the Xbox Series X and S. Of course, Alan Wake Remastered released a couple months back, and it makes a lot of sense as they released this game heading up to Alan Wake 2. Cannot wait for that game, as I do like Alan Wake quite a bit. But interestingly enough, the Xbox Series is going to enjoy a nice visual upgrade here, as Alan Wake Remastered has now added Auto HDR support for the Xbox Series X and S. Auto HDR is a nice feature for these consoles. See, these next generation consoles are highly powerful, and a lot of the times we want to focus on these brand new games that has cutting edge visuals, a buttery smooth frame rate, and incredible load times thanks to those solid state drives. But the thing with the Xbox Series is not only did they focus on completely new games, but they've also added some features to make already existing games look even better. Now, for the most part, this has been for backwards compatibility. They have things like FPS boost mode, which doubles the frame rate, or in this case, Auto HDR. Basically, with Auto HDR, it automatically implements HDR, which improves the brightness and colors. Really, HDR is an absolute game changer in terms of visuals for games, so this is such a great feature for the Xbox Series. Truly, the backwards compatible team for Xbox is just absolute wizards. But interestingly enough, here with Alan Wake Remastered, which released just a couple months ago, has now added support for Auto HDR. So you can actually see here that this can be beneficial for new games as well. And I do expect this to make a pretty nice little difference for Alan Wake Remastered. This game does revolve around light, so I think that this is going to visually make this game look much better. I'll have to try it for myself, but if you haven't already played Alan Wake Remastered, this is just really another reason to jump into this game before Alan Wake 2 releases, whenever that is. Let's go and talk about Xbox Game Pass, though, as they just revealed the first lineup for the year of 2022, and what a way to start off the year with a strong lineup for the month of January. Several of these games that's releasing in the first half of January are well-known, high-quality releases, and that is something important to always keep in mind when it comes to Xbox Game Pass. This is not the complete lineup for January, but rather it's just the first half of the month, which is just absolutely insane. But without further ado, let's just go and check out the first half of January, which includes Ember, Gorogoa, Elijah, Outer Wilds, The Pedestrian, the Anacrusis, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and then Spelunky 2. Now, as I said before, several of these games are well-known, high-quality releases, such as Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I know this is the big one that's going to draw in a lot of attention, and really, there's a very good reason for that. A lot of people do view that original Mass Effect trilogy as one of the greatest trilogies ever made, and honestly, I do completely agree with that. And here with Mass Effect Legendary Edition, you're going to get all of those games remastered. They're going to look better than ever before, especially that first game. It does seem like the first game here did get a nice upgrade in that Legendary Edition. And if for whatever reason you have not tried this trilogy out before, and if you like good stories, if you like good characters, or if you like sci-fi, then you absolutely need to play Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I know it's 3 games and it's quite the investment, but it is so well worth it. And even better, now that this is an Xbox Game Pass and EA Play, you can actually check these games out before Mass Effect 4 releases as well. I know that's still a long ways away, but this is a great way to jump into Mass Effect. So this is such an amazing inclusion for Xbox Game Pass. Now, another really high quality game here would be Outer Wilds. This is a game that was already available in Xbox Game Pass before, and this is something that I have talked about before, but this is a really good sign that they had a lot of success with Xbox Game Pass, or else they wouldn't have came back once again. I think this is just yet another sign that Xbox Game Pass is actually really good for developers. With Outer Wilds, though, this is a game that a lot of people do view as a masterpiece. This is an adventure style game with a lot of mystery and a lot of heart to it. You do play in a time loop, and you're trying to discover the mysteries of the universe as the universe continues to explode and you have to restart progress all over again. It's actually quite fascinating and something that I would highly recommend. Now, the thing about this game is that they also did release DLC last year. I have not played that one myself, but if you do find yourself liking Outer Wilds enough, maybe you can also check out the DLC that they released last year. And that is something about this particular lineup that I started to notice, because if you like puzzle-driven style of games, then I think you're really going to like a few of these games here, being Gorogoa and The Pedestrian. Now, both of these games have appeared in my top 10 list in the past, but with The Pedestrian, this is the one that I am just so excited for fans to try out. This is such a hidden gem that not nearly enough people have been talking about. This is a game that has been available on PC and PlayStation for a little while now, but now here it's releasing directly into Xbox Game Pass today. Yeah, you're going to be able to play this one today, and do not miss out on this game. Hopefully, it will finally get the recognition that it truly deserves, because it really is just such a fun and unique puzzle game. This is a 2.5D side-scrolling puzzle game where you travel from pedestrian sign to pedestrian sign, and it really does make for some really clever puzzles. So if you do like these type of games, I would highly recommend checking this game out. Now, this last one here is going to be pretty exciting for you long-term Xbox fans, as well as Spelunky 2 will be launching directly into Xbox Game Pass on January 13th. The original game was actually quite popular on Xbox, as it did release in 2012 on the Xbox Live Arcade. So I do know some longtime fans were hoping that this was going to eventually release on Xbox. It has been available on PlayStation, PC, as well as the Nintendo Switch for a little while now, but now it's finally making its way over to Xbox as well, and better yet, it will be launching directly into Xbox Game Pass. Hopefully that makes the wait well worth it. But if you have not played these games before and you don't really know what all the excitement is about, just understand, if you want to play this game, it is an incredibly challenging roguelike 2D platformer with randomly generated caves. Again, it is incredibly challenging, but it's still fun nonetheless. Either way, this is a great lineup of games to start the year off of 2022 for Xbox Game Pass subscribers. You just have to absolutely love it. And, well, now we just have to kind of make the tough decision on which game do we start off with. Let me know in the comments below, though, on which game here excites you the most. Now, we do also have a really interesting development regarding the PlayStation VR 2. Of course, we all know that PlayStation is working on a VR headset, and they've even revealed the controllers up to this point, but as of yet, we haven't really seen the PlayStation VR 2 or what exactly they're even trying to do with this headset. We'll kind of get back to that here in just a moment, but it is starting to appear that a reveal might be imminent. Now, this story was originally reported by Brad Lynch and then picked up by DualShockers, but according to a Chinese analyst, Goretech, the Chinese manufacturer, will be in charge of mass producing Metacambria and PSVR 2 apparently soon. So if this is true, and yes, there's still an if there, but if this is true, that would mean that more than likely a reveal will be right around the corner. I mean, they're not just going to produce this thing and then just release it out of nowhere. No, they're going to probably talk about this here sometime soon. So I think with this information now floating around, we should start to expect a full reveal for PlayStation VR 2, which it will be really interesting to see what they do with this thing. Since they released the original PlayStation VR headset back in 2016, there's been a lot of advancements when it comes to VR technology. You can really see that with other devices such as the Oculus devices, whether that be with the Rift or the Oculus Quest 2. You can see that with the Valve Index, and the list just kind of goes on from there. VR is moving forward, and even though these are still niche products, it does seem like it is growing in terms of popularity with something like the Oculus Quest 2, which has actually sold more than 10 million units as of November of 2021. So there's definitely a market for VR headsets, and I really want to see what PlayStation does with their next headset, because something about them is that they also have really good software. We'll kind of get back into that here in just a moment, though. There are some different things that we kind of know about the PSVR 2, though, already, thanks to some different patents that's out in the market, some different leaks. Jim Ryan in the past did state that the PlayStation VR 2 would be connected to the PlayStation 5 with a singular wire, which is actually quite an improvement over the PlayStation VR headset for the PlayStation 4. That one actually connected through a box first, which was kind of a confusing and annoying little setup, to say the least. So being connected through a singular wire is actually quite an improvement. But interestingly enough, there are some patents that kind of hints that maybe this could be wireless as well. So maybe having it connected to the PlayStation 5 would be an optional thing, or maybe only necessary for certain games. If they do manage to include a wireless mode here, though, even if it can't play every game wirelessly, that would be such a huge thing for PlayStation VR 2. We've seen how well that has benefited the Oculus Quest 2, of course, alongside its price point. But yeah, this would be a big selling point if they can manage to make that happen. Now, that's the other two things that I'm going to want to see here, though. How much is PlayStation VR 2 going to cost? Because VR in general is kind of expensive to get into, and that's one of the things that keeps people from trying VR. But if they can get the price point right, they can have a wireless mode, and then they also have the software, well, then you got a device that maybe some people be interested in. I am a supporter of VR myself, but it's one of those technologies that you have to try for yourself. And because these devices tend to be a little more on the expensive side and they're a little clunky to set up, it just keeps people from trying these devices. So hopefully they can get those things figured out. As for their software, though, I just kind of want to see that they're still committed to VR, because this is something that I don't think Sony gets enough credit for, but they actually did a really good job with their first-party games for PlayStation VR. Games like Astrobot and Blood and Truth are just some of the best VR titles, period, especially Astrobot. That game is absolutely amazing and one of my favorite 3D platformers ever. So I do want to see if they're still committed in terms of their first-party making VR titles going forward. There was some rumors floating around that all of their first-party games was going to have a VR mode, but we'll kind of see about all of that. But nonetheless, it does sound like we will get that official reveal here sometime soon for PlayStation VR 2. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and with all of those leaks going around that Goldeneye 007 might be returning to Xbox sometime here soon, and maybe even Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. We'll kind of see about all of that. But with these leaks going around, I wanted to ask you all, have you played the original Goldeneye 007 on the Nintendo 64, the game that many consider to be one of the greatest games of all time, or at least during that era? How many of y'all have actually played it? And impressively, 61% of you did say that yes, you've played the original GoldenEye 007, while 37% of you said no. I was actually kind of worried that most of you will have not played this game, so I was really happy to see that most of you will have, yes, played the original GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. I know some people who may have not played this game originally might be a little confused on why there's this excitement surrounding 007 GoldenEye and the possibility that it could be returning, but if you played it back in the 90s, you kind of understand why. This was such a revolutionary game. I did play this game over at my cousin's house when I was a kid, and we had an absolute blast playing the multiplayer in this game. Now, I will say for myself, I have a little bit more of an attachment to games like Perfect Dark, or even the later 007 games on the GameCube, games like Nightfire and Everything or Nothing. I put a ton of time into those games, and really they were some of my favorite games of that era in general. I really just kind of miss some of these great 007 games coming out today, but nonetheless, it's just great to see such a revolutionary and historic game such as GoldenEye possibly returning, even if it's just for nostalgia's sake. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.